Okay, so just so a lot more restriction, a lot more tightening on things, and means for sure is that you know, like I don't be doing much, but because like my depression has really gotten so bad, and and part of it has to do with all the screen time and all that. But I need to get back to doing things and being out on my own. But I am very tight on cash because of my reckless spending and all that. So you know, but and then also screen time is also taking away from a lot of things, and like it's not good for our health or even our eyes, like physical and mental health. Like my mental health is really going downhill because like I don't know what it is, but I feel as if something terrible is going to happen, and it seems like everyone seems oblivious, but like I'm like, but I don't know if it's because I mean I remember having a vivid dream that one of my nieces was brutally murdered, and you know like it was I mean I don't know what it means, but or is it because it's trying to warn me that there's something terrible going to happen? But the thing is, like, I know that we are in a tribulation, and I don't know. And another thing too is that like someone that I know that I, that I like is terminally ill and is going to is and needs to at least and needs to at least die with some dignity, and we have to see her at least one last time, and and two is that well, screen time for one should not exceed any more than 2 hours. For some people, it should only be 1 hour, because I mean, the more we are absorbed in like things like celebrity gossip, like all the wokeism that's been going on, and even the troubling news and violent video games, everything. Like the more we're absorbed in a lot of these bad things, like the more like even this tainted, and even these images of success and all that. But like it just really gets really it going. It really gets me fuming, and it just like why can't anyone just at least anyone just at least be you know and for me it's like I've always believed in black and white. Everything is black and white. To me, yeah, nothing's there's no gray area. There's all it is. It should all be black and white. Like, you know, and that's just sorry, but that's just the way I think. And I'm just yeah. So it's either all or nothing, and you know, I mean, just because I get a grace period in one area doesn't mean I will get it in another area. So you know, I want. I just wish that anyone could. Like then I would be more going out in things like how am I supposed? What am I supposed to do about it? But like you know, I mean, the more I want, it's like the more I want. Like this whole city is just so it's full of blue collar, who live to work and work to live, and just people are now and it's like everything that was foretold in the Bible is really coming true, and the love for one another has grown cold, and now we can't even trust anyone. And to me, it's really depressing. But I try to not think about it. But it really, the more you, the more you try to ignore it, the louder it gets. And it's gonna scream at you louder and louder and louder until you can no longer ignore it. But I don't think indifference is the answer either. So, like it's like it's just like impurities in our mind. And I talked about this earlier about the impure mirror of the mind. Like our values are nowadays are being tainted with envy, competition, and discontent. Like, but I have less than 3 weeks until I'm baptized, and like and well, less than like actually like less than 2 weeks, I think. Like because I want I want to walk this path, and if I wish to if I wish to leave this world and let it stay behind and leave it behind to its destruction. And you know like it said, this heaven and earth will pass away, but God's words always will always God's words all word will always be forever. But I am very I feel a lot like my anxieties are really screaming at me. And like like I have not been going out much as of late because I'm very strapped on cash, and like I see a lot because I just I'm like I just wish that you know like and now like it's like everything is coming true. Like the UK has banned Christianity and now has fallen into a control like China has, and pretty soon it's going to be here too. And just we can only hope that Alberta has voted to separate, and then likely Saskatchewan is going to follow too. And BC has now signed the United Nations Declaration of Rights for Indigenous Peoples, and pretty much like before we know it, all the land will become property of the Indigenous, and you won't even have any. You will. It's like they say, you will own nothing, and that's the point. Yeah, like everything's getting out of control. And yeah, yeah, like Indigenous have fought one another, or long before the first European settlers came. And I mean, we don't know. We don't know what the real truth is. But I'm gonna, like, I don't know what the truth is, but sometimes it's better off that I just stay off the internet and off the screens, and start focusing more on what I really want. But I know judgment's gonna come, and all I can do is just stay in private, and just hold until this tribulation period has ended. You know, I mean, unless I get raptured and then I can just leave this world. Okay, so I'm about a week and a half away from getting baptized. I used to truly being a Christian, and yeah, I guess the other night I had kind of a vivid dream that my niece Brooklyn was brutally murdered, and I don't know what vivid what exactly it means, but it usually means something that can be very disturbing or anything, like, I don't know, but it was because that's fate, just, you know, like, but if I'm kind of like a bit anxious to see what will happen, but yeah, I guess that's what destiny is, you know, like, but, you know, it's just, you know, trying to detox, just, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, so I'm kind of at a point where, yeah, I don't know what explains this, how tired I'm feeling. And, you know, like, I remember seeing a video that one of the side effects of this transformation is being so tired and anxious and so on. But if I really am chosen, then like it it means like I'm just, yeah, if I am part of the lineage of the 144,000, then yeah, like, then it means like I would be chosen to be brought up to heaven to speak, you know, words, and, you know, I mean, Jesus had so many things that had to be said, but not yet. But I have been one of the chosen few who have had the words that were sealed. You know, like, I don't know what's right now at this point. I don't know what's real or not, and, you know, just, I mean, the way the world is now, I'm better off not to have any kids. But if for some reason that I end up with a child, but I would have them schooled online, and, you know, I mean, I was very shy and awkward, but like, one of the girls wanted me back in high school, and sometimes, but my relationships in history is so confusing, both romantically and platonically. You know, I've had 2 girlfriends in the past. You know, different times basically. First one just dumped me, you know, through a voicemail, and the second one, well, she had just moved. She had to move because I'm not still in contact with her, but I don't see. But it's just, it's like after 7 years, just she had to leave because the city just got so crazy, and I mean, I don't blame her. So, but even Edmonton is so dodgy, and now, like, I hope when when everything gets really crazy, I'll be at my mom's farm. You know, like, yeah, like, everything. And the Alberta Teachers Association is now taking the court to taking it to the Supreme Court of the country, and it's all run by the Liberal old puppets. And if Smith loses it, it's over for Alberta. Yeah, the NDP come in and boom, just like what happened in BC, it's going to happen here too. Yeah, the UNDRIP will be signed and no one will own anything. Yeah, well, the UNDRIP agreement has signed in BC, and people are leaving for Alberta. Yeah, because yeah, it's tribulation already happening, but yeah, it's all because the greedy are getting greedier, and it's just faith is what really makes us win. It's about faith, you know. You gotta have that faith. And yeah, like but even now, like, yeah, and my caregivers, his oldest sister is he's kind of on a roller coaster, and at this point, it's my thought, you know. I don't know if I'll be seeing her again, but you know, but I wanted to stay home because home till, but it was a good thing I did it for the package and for her and my caregiver's daughter family to come in. But I also feel guilty of not going out there. You know? I don't. They don't see it as such, but I can't help projecting it onto myself. But you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. You know, like I mean, like you just sometimes you just gotta learn from it, fold it into your life, move forward. That's just the way it goes sometimes, like, yeah, yeah, like, just, like I can't, just, it's hard as it is, but I feel like, but life is always a battlefield, You're faced with trials and tribulations, and they test our faith, but faith without works is dead, and, like you gotta do the works, and, you know, yeah, like, yeah, and so anyways, just kinda, yeah, just think it kinda really does a lot. It really does a lot of the, it really makes sense when you think about things like, and, I need to detox a lot from the screens, and that includes the TV as well, so like, I mean, we all need to, we need to break away from the screens, all of us, and start actually like learning new things. But another thing I wanted to discuss was like values, like the simple values like lust, greed, anger, envy, gluttony, pride, and sloth. And pride kind of breaks down into two subcategories, which is ego and illusion. Another word for illusion is vanity, like a lot of people are just so vain. Even when when you're like teenagers or or you're like early 20s, like you just get so vain, and like in my 20s, like I was really vain, but like, you know, there are things I just wish I could change, but just don't do it. But you live and you learn. You know? Isn't that correct? Like, but yeah, like it's hard enough as it is, just trying to keep your ducks in a row. You know? I mean, I may never or may not have a child, but life goes on as usual. Yeah, so apparently, like, this unacceptable French thing is just so, it was all just misinformation and outright lies. And, just people do, like, they want to spread lies and misinformation just to stir the hornet's nest. And, like, I'm, yeah, and it's just, I don't, why would anyone believe a single person thing? Yeah, like, the separation referendum just doesn't, a referendum to separate was only supported by a small number of rural supporters. There's in Cypress County, but the ones who voted Alberta to stay, are all in the big cities. And next thing you know, the NDP get in, and it's over. The UNDRIP gets voted in, and next thing you know, just people do, like, you wouldn't even be able to own land, and it just isn't. They'll do everything just to rip everything up from possession, and like, and people are leaving Alberta because of everything that's been going on, and Danielle Smith is being very secretive on everything, trying to, like, she clawed back like $200 of my check because of the disability tax credit, but the teachers union and is taking everything to the Supreme Court. So, like, when Smith loses, it's over. So, like, I mean, they have not. She has not done anything to address as whatever it is. As our problems, and like, it's like every woman in the conservative system has really done a lot of bad things, and they just go behind everyone's back and just use those tax money just for their own need, and she just let Smith let the gases go out of control. So anyway, yeah. Yes. Yes. Out in the theater right now, just trying to see, do some kind. Watch a movie called Good Fortune with Keanu Reeves. He as an Archangel Gabriel, like, and yeah, set out way out in Los Angeles, place of total dodginess and just vanity and fantasy and all the materialism that you can think of, like the dream is dead, yeah, just like my outreach worker said, like, just like people like Danielle Smith has fair intentions, but her way she's running things is just flawed, She has no answers to any questions. She has nothing. Like, the next thing you know, they're gonna elect an NDP premier here to here, and it's Naheed Nenshi who's gonna push his woke crap onto us, like, just now people are leaving Alberta to go into other places, and people are leaving BC too, like, I think every election is gonna be like gonna be rigged so that all the left get in. I mean, I don't learn about the ceremonies for about the ditches on the roads. Like, the left ditch represents lawlessness, while the right ditch represents extreme righteousness. Like, and quite often, like, just it's always good that you need to do everything you can to stay within that narrow road that always twists and turns. Like, just kind of, yeah. Everything's really gonna, everything's really, you gotta go down, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So apparently, like, like they couldn't even outdo the separate. They couldn't even outdo the referendum to keep Alberta in this country, and now, it's like it's only from the rural residents in Cypress in southern Alberta. Yeah, man, imagine a lot of them are Mormon too, but they could not outnumber the ones in the migrants and all the left-wing people in the city, because Danielle Smith it's just not been doing any clear answers. Like, they don't know, like, how are you going to do it? Like, they obviously, every conservative woman in power has just ulterior motives. Like they just want that class consciousness back in there, and yeah, they don't even realize they have not done anything to address the food, why the food prices are so high, and they just let the companies just they deregulate everything, Yeah, Naheed Nenshi is just another one of those woke weirdos, and it just wants to force everyone to do things like, they're undermining family and faith, is what it is. And now I'm at a point where, well, maybe it's not you know, maybe I'm never better enough not to have any kids or something, but but friendships, I have a hard time in keeping friendships, mainly because I act differently, I think differently, I see things differently, like, just, personally, I just don't care, care about what, and yeah, everyone thinks I'm just crazy, but I don't make a fuss about anything anymore. Uh, like, and another the movie I just watched tonight was just, was, like, basically, it teaches us that we all think, we don't, we all don't realize we don't realize how bad we may think our life stinks, and all that, but quite often, but the problem is we don't realize American Dream is about, it's like the American Dream is more, it comes through hard work and perseverance, but nowadays, just, life in the city is really, it's not really an opportunity. Like, all I do is play in the dirty streets and never see the sunshine. Well, land of opportunities out in the open, like, like, yeah, and, if I ever could, I'd just I could just, if I ever, or, or just kept myself humbled and all that, but then I wouldn't even be, I'd be on my own by then. But, but the movie even teaches us it's not having what we want, but it's about wanting what we have, and, I only ever wish I ever listened and acted upon it, but, like, I'm kind of at a point where, it's just kind of, like, you think life stinks and just, you blew it in. But life only, well, we don't know, the past doesn't always define our future, though. It doesn't cancel it either, so all we can do is just learn from it, and, we either run from it or we learn from it, but sadly there's people who got so wanton and, like, they acted of just in total indifference, and they see as a, like, sometimes I just wish life would have been a lot more different if I had listened and acted and obeyed the idea of that. If I would have just controlled myself even more, then, wouldn't have been so impulsive. But everything is so, but it never seemed to kind of, even then I've always felt so empty and never had any idea why. But, like, but yeah, just kind of, You know, it really does kind of suck. But anyways, yeah. You know, just kind of, you know, like, you know, maybe I'm just gonna I'm gonna have to end this vlog here, so, you know, so I'm gonna, it's a multiple day one, but it's kind of necessary for me so, until then, just remember, yeah, if if you feel like your life stinks, you know, that life, it's about, everything's supposed to teach you. Remember what it's supposed to teach you, you know. You know, there's people that are worse off than what you are. So, just count your blessings while you still have them. So, anyways, yes, I've said enough. So, until then, stay tuned for more. Bye.